Hi everyone. I hope you're having a beautiful day in the Lord. I don't know if I ever told you before that I made this book. And in this book are all the things that happened to me spiritually where the Lord was trying to convey something to me. And it seemed that he was telling me who I am. And these are all events that took place within the last 10, 12 years in my ministry. And I just want to just go over one of them, which was pretty incredible to me. This one. You see these keys? When I first started my ministry, I was doing like a little side business, like, making jewelry. And I had retired, so I figured, let me start something, keep myself busy. And so it was time to come. I had a post office box because I was selling it online. So I had my address was on a post office box. So I asked the Lord, it was time to renew the post office box. And I said to the Lord, do you want me to renew the post office box? Because I didn't know whether I should continue the business, or whatever. So I was asking. So on my way to the post office, I'm coming around the turn, and my right passenger side wheel hits the curb as I'm making the turn to approach the post office. And so as my wheel hits, it goes up like this, boom, like that. So I hit the curb. That's what I felt. And so it isn't something that had not happened before, Sometimes we all hit the curb, right? So I pull the car over, I get out, and I go into the post office, and I go where the post office boxes are, and I go in to get my mail. And I have 2 keys, and anybody who's ever had a post office box knows how thick those keys are. Very, very durable and thick keys. So I go to put the key in the lock, and I see that the tip of the key was all bent and contorted and ripped. And then I looked at the other key, which they were both hanging together. The other one, the whole tip was ripped off. So this was God's way of telling me, no, I don't want you to continue that business. I want you to stay in the ministry and work for me. So he ripped my keys up with his finger, the finger of God. The same finger that wrote those 10 commandments in the tablet ripped up these keys. And I believe he singed these keys when I hit the bump, when I hit the curb. Because these keys, at the time, my car key was put in the ignition. It wasn't the type of ignition that we have now where you just press the button and the car starts. My car, back then, you had to have the key in it, and on the key chain, dangling, were these keys. They were attached to my car keys. And so when I hit the bump, all the keys went up and down like that with the bump. And I believe that that's when he did it. That was put into my spirit. So these keys are very, very special to me, these keys, because God touched these keys, and I think all the time, the Ark of the Covenant, people that is so sought after, the whole world is fighting over the Ark of the Covenant. Supposedly that the the 10 Commandments, the tablets are in there. And, so, and I say to myself, well, Jude, the world doesn't know it, but you have something that the finger of God touched also right here. And that's why these things are so very, very important to me. It's one of my most cherished things that I own, because God touched these. And no, I could never do this myself. That's how thick these things are. And, this is like the unbelievable right here, the unbelievable. And you're looking right at it. So I had compiled a book with all these kinds of things that the Lord did. Here's another one. I'll just go over one more with you. And one day I'll go over some, maybe hopefully I could go over all of them. But this one was really interesting. I went to the bagel store where I used to go every morning to get my bagel. And I look, I get the Lord says to take a picture of myself. So I take a picture of myself, and as I'm taking a picture of myself sitting in the car with my bagel, I noticed that in the back seat of my car, it was like a big gold ball in the back seat of my car. You see that? Right there. It was the burning bush. It was the burning bush in the back of my car. And I'm saying, what the heck is that? Well, I had no idea it was that. And I said, maybe it's a reflection. The sun is hitting on the bumper of some car or the sign, and it's reflecting in my car. So I moved my car. I went around the corner to the other side of the street, and I parked. And I got my phone, and I looked at myself, and I saw in the back seat, the ball was still there. So then I moved, I went around to another block because I thought maybe, the sun still might be coming down and reflecting off of something. So I parked on another street under a tree where there wasn't any sunlight whatsoever. And I opened my phone and did it again, and there it was. And at that very same moment, the song came on, Turn Around, Look at Me. And I made the connection that it was a spiritual event, and that was God's way of showing himself to me in the back seat of my car. I was so frightened from that I took off. I went home. I was panting all the way home, and it just so happens that my husband was there that day, and I ran to him, and I started crying because I was terrified. This was terrifying to me. So, he was holding me, and I was telling him the whole thing that happened. And it took me about a half an hour to kind of calm down. So after I calmed down, I was sitting in my living room, and I opened the phone towards myself, and there was no gold ball there, but the hue of the gold that was in the back of my car, like the afterglow, I'll say, from that big gold ball was permeated the whole screen. So God wanted me to know that was him, because he left the afterglow in the phone so that I would know that it wasn't the sun reflecting off of anything, that it was him. And that was my burning bush. That was my burning bush experience. And I have here's one here. Well, I used to go to the 7-Eleven every morning and have my cup of coffee when I first got up. And I used to take my coffee and pull around to the side, the residential street. And I parked in front of this one family house. And I used to do this every morning and sit and, read scripture or whatever I was doing. And one day I said to the Lord, I says, why don't you have a cup of coffee with me? You know. So the next day, I go and I get my coffee and I go to that house. And here's the steps, the stoop. I don't know if you could see it, but there's a coffee cup on the step right there. And there was never, ever a coffee cup sitting on the step. So that was the Lord saying to me, I'm having a cup of coffee with you right now. And I was going there for years, and never, ever once did I see a mug, a coffee mug, sitting on the stoop like that. It was only after I asked him to have a cup of coffee with me that the next morning I went there and there was a coffee cup sitting on the stoop. I mean, these things, I mean, you know, I don't know. I'm sure spiritual things happen to other people, but I don't know of any people. I don't know of any people that have had some of these profound experiences. Let's see, what else can I show you? Yeah, well, some of these, if I explain them to you. Oh, yeah, in my jewelry business, I was making these cameos to sell. I'll show you right here. You see that? Yeah, I was making things like this. And then the Lord told me again, I was up in my bedroom, and he said, take a picture of yourself through the mirror. You know, point the camera at the mirror. So when I pointed the camera at the mirror, this is what came up. The image of that female cameo in light. You see it? It's the same as this. These are, I have a whole list of these things. This is the story of my life. And you know, if I didn't have evidence of this book is evidence, because if I was just to tell people that these things happened to me, they would think I was nuts. But I documented it so that I would have proof of what God did. One day I gave God on Facebook, I posted a little cartoon of a little child handing him a heart, and it said, it's not much, but it's all I have. And then he looks down at the child and says, it's all I ever wanted. I'm sure you've seen this before. So then later that day, I'm out shopping, and he says to me, take a picture of the sun. And here it is, right here. It's a silhouette of me, my profile in the sun, with a prism, a 5-pointed star around it. Amazing things that have happened to me in my walk. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm probably going to make a book number 2. Because I can't fit, I didn't fit them all in this hardcover book. But this one of my most prized possessions ever are these keys that God just completely burnt the tips off of, just to tell me, no, don't renew your post office box, close your business, and come and work for me. So that's all I have for you today. God bless you. Have a beautiful day in the Lord. Shalom.